Guinea ex-dictator Moussa Dadis Camara has been recaptured and returned to prison hours after an apparent jailbreak led by heavily armed commando. The army and his lawyers said. Now, at least two other former officials on trial alongside Camara over a 2009 massacre during his presidency were taken in the earlier operation that sparked heavy gunfire in the capital Conakry. An army spokesperson disclosed that Camara has been found safe and sound and taken back to prison without specifying the circumstances of the capture. It is still unclear whether Camara had escaped of his own free will. Now joining us on the news is Adib, Saani, security analyst, and of course, Executive Director, JATK, Center for Human Security and Peace Building. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now let's start the conversations on the issue of the jailbreak itself. Now, this was actually carried out by armed commandos. I mean, this is rather disturbing. What could have been their intention?
Well, I've been following the story keenly, and so far as I'm concerned, based on information I've picked up within open sources, and of course, some few sources I have on the ground. These commandos overpowered the prison guards, broke into the prison. They were so heavily armed and they had their faces masked. And when they got into the prison, they marched straight to Dadis Camara's cells. And it was quite apparent that they knew exactly where he was. Indeed, some witnesses on the ground did state emphatically that when they arrived, they mentioned that they were coming to free Dadis Camara. It wasn't only Camara who was freed. Some two other individuals who were involved in the 2009 attacks, in which over 100 people were killed in the country, also were taken. And I understand one of them has also been returned. So immediately it happened, the country was closed. The borders were closed. The airport was closed. The capital city was also closed, and they jumped straight to work. And from what we are receiving, the information we are receiving, they are back in the cells. But it is also instructive to understand that the Camara side have their story, because according to his lawyer, Pepe, he wasn't part of that mission, and that he was taken out of it against his will. And that is unclear for now. We are not able to tell whether indeed he was part of the mission and it was all planned with him knowing, or he was, freed by these persons.
Because that would have led me to my next question as regards the culpability of Camara himself. I mean, are there possibilities that maybe he was into it, or these commandos just did it in solidarity?
Well, it can be either side. That is exactly what we don't know yet, because that's what his lawyers are saying, that he wasn't in it. He wasn't part of this. But on the other hand, government sources are indicating that he was part of it. And I think that is what is currently being investigated. But it's important to understand that he was in power for some time. He had the support of the military at that time. Things have changed, but it doesn't mean that all of the soldiers currently wouldn't support you. There would still be some elements within the military who would owe him a great deal of loyalty and allegiance. And I wouldn't be surprised if this, small group within the military is what really organized this to free him. But for now, it is being investigated, and I understand there's heavy security presence around the country, and especially the prison where he was freed.
I mean, that leads me to my next question. What message does this particular event send to the general public, and how safe particularly is the capital And the government of the day, I mean, what message also does it leave for them?
I think this is a big challenge to the presidency of Mamadi Doumbouya. He has been seen as the strong man. He's been seen as that one person who can ensure security for Guinea and bring Guinea back on track. And so this is a very big blow to him. The ability of some commandos to go in and free Dadis in this fashion, I think would bruise his ego to a very large extent. You know, military leaders don't want their power to be diluted in any way. They don't want to be challenged, okay? And when you do that at your own risk. So the fact that these individuals will be so brazen, so motivated, so bold enough to carry out such mission, I must say it's a big challenge to the presidency of Mamadi Doumbouya. And it's also indicative of the fact that they are all not invincible. You know, there can be a challenge coming from any section of the population, whether it is civilian, military, police, intelligence. So I'm sure they would keep an eye, a much closer and tighter grip of the country going forward, drawing lessons from what had happened.
Thank you so much for your time, Adib.
Thank you.
Great.